Qantas is forecast to post a record profit while airfares continue to soar in price. It is starting to attract criticism, including in Canberra. Joining us with more analysis is Geoff Thomas. He's the editor-in-chief of airlineratings.com. Good to see you, Geoff.
Ash.
Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.
There have been a few developments on this story just this morning. We've seen that domestic cabin crew are demanding better pay. If they don't get it, 99% of Qantas's domestic cabin crew voted today in favour of industrial action. We've all had the lost baggage, the disruptions to flights. Strikes is something that I feel like passengers wouldn't have much patience with at the moment.
Look, they certainly won't, and I guess that's the strategy, to try and force management to accede to their requests. But the management's pretty dug in on it, and a lot of the unions within that group have already agreed to this to a package of increases. The flight attendants are outside that, and interestingly enough, part of what they're after, they've already agreed with Virgin and Rex for the same sort of deal. So, you know, you sort of have to ask yourself the question, why Qantas? And Qantas, it basically revolves around Qantas wanting to extend hours a little bit on this new airplane, the A321XLR. It's a single aisle, long, ultra long range aircraft that will do places like Melbourne to Singapore or Melbourne to Hanoi. It gives Qantas a lot of flexibility, but they need a little bit from the flight attendants. But on those extended hours, you're talking 300%.
Okay.
So it's pretty generous. So, you know, there's going to be a little bit of tension in this one.
We'll watch that space because it's all coming, obviously, the timing around this is Qantas has just announced that it's expecting to make an underlying profit.
Yeah.
And I've got the figures here. For the 6 months to December 31, it's going to be up to $1.45 billion. It's $150 million more than they'd forecast just in October.
6 weeks ago.
Yeah. But at the same time, the airfares are really high.
Well, yes, and it's way more than what the analysts said about 3 months ago. And they were predicting a profit for the first half of 300 million to 400 million. Now we're talking 1.45 billion. So yes, there's a lot of pressure now on Qantas to sort of have a look at the fares, bring some of the aeroplanes they've got in reserve back into to ease capacity. And also, I think one of the other things they have to do is do a lot more about fixing up some of the problems that have been sitting there for 6 and 7 months with passengers who can't get refunds. I'm getting emails every day from people giving me this litany of problems, and I started back in February trying to get this, and it's crazy stuff. And it's totally unacceptable, particularly when you're forecasting a profit of 1.45 billion. That's just for the half. For the full year, wow.
Labor's Tony Sheldon's really getting stuck into Alan Joyce over all of this. He's calling for him to resign. He's accusing Qantas of mongrel corporate guerrillaszip. Is Alan Joyce's job on the line over this?
Look, I don't think so. I mean, Alan Joyce is one of the best airline CEOs in the world. There's no question about that, none. But at the same time, I think there should be a little bit more love right now. I think there needs to be some concessions. I think they need to put, for instance, a cap on the pricing. I mean, the pricing structure is there's about 20 price buckets on an aeroplane, and what's happening is, you know, if you book 3 months out, you can get those good fares. If you book for tomorrow morning, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg. And I think the airline should have a look at this, and because I don't think the system was ever designed to capture this sort of fare level, and it's on every flight. Because they're all full. Instead of being 80% load factor, you're now talking 95, 98% load factors, which capture those much higher fares. And this is the cream on top of the cream when it comes to profit.
Now, Geoff, I've been desperate to ask you about a story that's making headlines all around the world at the moment.
Yeah.
And this seems to be a push to just have one pilot in the cockpit instead of the normal two that we're all used to. Would you be comfortable on a plane that only had one pilot?
I wouldn't dream of flying on an aeroplane with one pilot. Sure, to go to a Rottnest Island off the coast of Perth in a little Cessna, yes, one pilot's fine. But a large commercial jet, not a chance. And there are so many statistics that support the fact that this is a really ridiculous idea, including the famous QF-32, Richard de Crespigny, out of Singapore. The engine blew up. He flew the plane while the co-pilot looked after 54 error messages. 54 error messages of problems. They'd lost this, they'd lost that. One pilot can't do that. Then you had QF72 off the coast of Western Australia in 2008. The computers all went haywire. Those two pilots were absolutely fighting for their lives to save that aeroplane. One pilot, you would have lost it. And on the weekend, in America, an American Airlines jet took off. The pilot has seizure on takeoff. The co-pilot took over, and the pilot later died. I mean, that was on Saturday.
Right.
So it's a bad idea.
It doesn't seem like it's getting much traction.
No, it's not, and I've had a personal experience with it. Landing in Perth on a Boeing 787, the captain who was being checked, her final flight, she had a seizure on touchdown, and the plane pulled violently to the right and shuddered, and then veered back to the left as the check and training captain got her off the controls, regained control of the plane, and she later died. So it was a personal experience, and it was really, really scary.
I think most passengers would feel the same way. Geoff Thomas, really appreciate your time. Hopefully that story will drop out of the headlines before too long.
Hope so.
Appreciate your analysis. Thank you.